Tsarukyan, you know what, guys? Is he interesting? He's starting to seem pretty interesting to me. Now, I wasn't overly familiar with him, and comes in, got some kind of a beef going with Bobby Green. This is at the hotel before his previous fight. And interesting experience for me, but my daughter was turning 6. Took her to Disneyland. So I'm out in the hotel at Disneyland as I'm watching that event. Do you guys remember this? Sean Brady was taking on Kelvin Gastelum. One of the big reasons that I turned in. But this fight week, you got Bobby Green, you got Tsarukyan. And they're not fighting each other. They're in the same weight class, but Tsarukyan's got business coming up with Dariush. And Dariush was on one of the great streaks ever, and it just got interrupted. And there's a big question. Like, there's sometimes where you don't want to fight a guy. I mean, like, there's times within the guy's career that you don't want to fight him, at least preferably 2 other times. When you have a guy coming off a loss, that's the big one. Where some guy, like, you do not want to fight Robert Whittaker when he's coming off of a loss. Fighting Whittaker is never fun. You don't want to fight him when he's coming off of a loss. But we didn't know this about Benny. We don't know a ton about Benny and losing versus winning, what drives it. We just don't know he'd won so many in a row before Charles got him, right? And when Charles got him, it looked to me almost like Charles had caught him. And I only share that with you because Tsarukyan's got his hands full. That's my only point. It's not to digress into Benny Dariush's career. Tsarukyan has his hands full. Can we agree on that? Not to mention it was a spotlighted match. And there didn't seem like there was a ton of wiggle room for Tsarukyan. The greatest thing that he had done, again, I'm taking you back. I think now we're all on board with Tsarukyan. I'm taking you back, though. The greatest thing that he had done at that time is lose a fight, but he didn't lose it as dominantly as people predicted that he would lose it against Islam in his debut. I mean, I'm just sharing with you, like, a guy like that can't go get in a fight at a hotel. You can't. The rules are not the same for everybody. Conor McGregor comes to a building, gets into a fight, goes into the biggest pay-per-view main event of all time, right? With using that as a commercial. Another guy does the same thing. Here's your walking papers. It's just one of these situations where when Tsarukyan did it, here's your walking papers. Now, if you look a little bit closer, nobody got hurt, and I don't even know how in danger somebody was. It came across possibly as just entertaining. Okay, great, but hold that thought, because Tsarukyan's getting ready, moving the timeline, to fight Charles Oliveira. And he's saying a lot of things about old Charles. Tsarukyan finally gets asked about all these things he's saying about Charles with nothing coming back. Like, hey, how can you even be mad at a guy who's taking all these shots from you and not firing back? Well, that pissed Tsarukyan off. He said, man, that's the whole reason I'm doing it, because this guy won't meet me halfway. It was interesting to me. I like that. Tell me more. Tsarukyan makes this whole case about this could be the number 1 contenders match. Supposed to be, but if we come out and we don't get people's interest, why would they elevate us to a championship fight? And he's not doing his part. Like, he was making a case for a guy that was paying attention. Okay. But now that he's doing this with Charles, we can no longer say that the biggest thing he ever did is lose a fight closer than we thought he was going to lose. We now can say he's got a first-round stoppage over Dariush and has found himself on the biggest card of all time. Now, I don't know that that's a lot. It's more. Can we agree on that? Because you need a lot. You need something good. You need to have some real goodwill with the company to get away with punching a fan on the way to the ring. Can we agree on that? Can we agree? Mayhem Miller was released from the UFC, reportedly for making a comment to the waitress he was ordering a drink from. Whether that's true or not, it was never disputed. But can you see the difference? Nobody saw it. To the point that we never even got that confirmed. But it got reported and people believed it. My point. Goodwill. My point is just goodwill. What do you got stored up? So, punch a fan on the way to the ring when the biggest thing that you've done is you stop Benny Dariush Now, hold on, because when he had to deal with the consequences of throwing that punch, that Benny Dariush finish is no longer the biggest thing he's done. He now also has the goodwill of having just beat Charles Oliveira in a very fun fight, by the way. That fight was so fun. Oh, my goodness. I had no idea how good Charles Oliveira was until I was right there watching it. And Tsarukyan beat him. Okay, big compliment. And all of a sudden, throwing a punch at the fan was more of the fan instigated and brought that upon himself. Right? Like, it just kind of worked itself out. Tsarukyan now, and I'm talking about purely from an entertainer standpoint, like this guy keeps getting it right. He just, everywhere I turn, he just keeps on getting it right. He has come out and he has claimed that the judge, it was a split decision with Charles, right? And he has claimed that the judge who had it for Charles has called and apologized. Not only apologized, he has professed his mistake. The judge re-watched it, he says, and sees now that it should have been a unanimous for Artem. And you know what? That's great. I mean, that's just great stuff. If a judge went and did that, some people are going to have a problem with that. I'm not. I would like that. I mean, not for nothing. I don't think judges should have to stay as silent as they do. Oh, and by the way, they're real people, and they do interact with you. And if they can set everything aside and not form a bias and come out and call a fight the way that it happened, I just have no problem with that. I have no problem with them having a relationship then and picking up the phone and calling a manager or a trainer. I can see it as helpful. I knew a judge that did this. I'll leave his name out of it, but he was in a hotel. Right? I mean, stay at the same place, you get in the same bands, you go to the venue. Like, we know each other. I don't know that you have to put your head down and act like you don't. And the judge they were back at the airport. Guys get dropped off, they check their bags, they're back at the airport, and somebody has started a conversation with the judge. And before you know it, a whole bunch of fighters came around. And the judge decided to use that as a Q&A. Like, if you, the athlete, wants to know what we, the judge, are looking for, what we're instructed to look for, what objectively you can expect other judges to look for, that seems very nice that a judge would give you that opportunity. I mean, that seems like a real leg up because we've never been given that. We've never fully been told or made clear. We have our guesses and we know what we would do in that situation, but we've never actually been told. It's a very helpful thing. But one of those fighters got information that he didn't like, returned home, sent emails, and put that judge in a hot seat for holding this impromptu Q&A. I like it. Now, I don't know that I believe at all that judge made that phone call. I don't know that I believe it. Could have happened. I don't know that I believe it. I believe less that if the judge did make that phone call, that the manager and or trainer that received it would then call Tsarukyan. It would seem as though there's no reason to. Your guy already won. Like, you're not trying to boost him or blow some sunshine up his ass. He already won. And by the way, if you can let him know, he kept it a little bit too close. As a matter of fact, as one judge even had it against him, you have got to finish those rounds and then finish your thought. You got to finish it on top. You got to finish it with a flirt. You got to throw your hands up. Some coaches really love that. They make you even do it in practice. The bell goes off and you throw your hands up. Like, you got to be in this habit of throwing your hands up. And they all believe because the judge will see it. And as a human being, that's the last thought you'll give. Like, there's just these beliefs within MMA. I just don't know that I believe that the judge made the call. And if he did, I don't think that the trainer would share that with his athlete. I could be wrong on both. But I hope that I'm right. I hope that there was no call. I hope that Tsarukyan made the entire thing up. You want to really make me happy? What would really make me happy is if Tsarukyan got to that fan, worked out some deal with them, and then concocted the story that the fan went first by flipping him off. Now that will really impress me. But either way, I do feel like the idea of Tsarukyan versus Islam, it looks very different today than it did just 1 week ago. Just 1 mere week ago, I'm having to remind people that fight's already happened. I'm having to remind people. And I can't really think of a 55-pound match that I want to see more. I mean, I really like conceptually that idea. And Tsarukyan and Poirier, by the way, are teammates. I hope that they're working out together. I hope that they like each other. I hope there's not a competitiveness there, because if they team up, if the two of them work together, one-on-one dealing with Islam's a lot for anybody. All of a sudden, you get these two great minds together. Tsarukyan has me interested. Whether the judge called the trainer and the trainer called him and apologized or not, it's an interesting claim. Much like the fan who flipped you off.